I just finished my first EF trip and overall, really great. Really liked it, but as with most things, I jumped right into it without doing nearly any research. I just paid for it and was like, I'm doing it. So there were some things I probably could have researched a little harder and found out before I went. So I'm gonna tell all those things to you, so if you're thinking about going on an EF trip, you'll be more prepared than I was. So just really quick background, what is EF, Ultimate Break? EF is a way for you to travel really easily with a group, and it's for people between ages 18 to 35. So if you're in that age range, you're gonna be with people who are your same age, probably in a group of like 20 to 30 people, and basically you choose a place you wanna go off the EF Ultimate Break website, you pay for it, they plan it all for you, and it's a super easy way to travel. And that's all stuff you can learn yourself by reading their website. But here's stuff that I learned after going on my first trip. So the first thing that I realized about EF Ultimate Breaks is that it's best for places that you can't travel to easily yourself. For example, I think that traveling to Europe, as someone who's traveled a little bit in the past, I think that traveling to Europe is something you could pretty easily do yourself. There's so many travel guides out there, and it's a pretty accessible place to travel to. But what I've come to realize is that EF is really great for places that you don't have as much context about, and for places where there's less travel guides and it'd be easier to travel with a group. For example, the EF trip I just went on was to Egypt, and I think that if I hadn't been with a group, I would have had a far more difficult time and a far more stressful time than I did with EF Ultimate Break. With EF, they give you a guide that speaks the local language, they give you a bus, and they take care of all your transportation, which was honestly probably the best part, because if I had to figure out Ubers to get around Cairo and all the other cities we went to, that would have been really hard, I think. And then they do your flights within the countries if you're going to different cities. They set up which hotels you're going to stay at, which is also super helpful because doing that research could be really hard on your own. And with Egypt specifically, all American tour groups there are given a bodyguard that stays with them the whole time. So if I had gone alone, I wouldn't have had that person with me. But going on a trip through EF, they added that layer of safety for us, which was really cool. So I really appreciated that as well. And I think that I would keep using EF Ultimate Break for continents I've never been to before, just to get a feel for them before I try to plan something out myself. The next thing I wish I'd known about EF Ultimate before signing up is that prices vary a lot between the dates when you're choosing a place to go to. So for example, after going to Egypt, since I liked it, I decided to book another trip through EF Ultimate Break to Thailand. And as I was looking at it, I realized that the prices varied maybe $1,000 between the different options, which I thought was insane. Like there were some that were like $3,200 and then others that were $4,200. And it was like weeks that were right next to each other. And I did not know why these weeks were so different. And obviously I was like, I can just go a week later and save $1,000. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. So that's a good thing to know, is to always check their website to see if there's a cheaper option for you like a week later before you get connected to one specific date. Another good thing to know before you go is that there's semi-annual sales, and you should definitely book during these times. There's one that happens every summer in July and then another one on Black Friday. So if you wait for one of these dates and you book like 6 months ahead of time or a year ahead of time for your trip, you'll save up to $500, which is super nice. So I definitely recommend waiting and not just booking whenever. Additionally, another way to save money is to use a code. I have a code. If you want to use it, I'll put it right here. But this will give you $100 off your trip. So just layering every way you can to save money. Like if you do the two things I just said, you just saved $600. And if you layer that also with the thing I said before that of like saving $1,000 by looking at the different weeks you can go, then I just saved you $1,600. Oh, and then one more money saving tip. I'm just full of them today. You can also get discounts if you sign up with a group. So if you're going with a group of friends, I think if it's like 4 people, you all get like $100 off. And if it's like up to 6 people, then you get like $250 off each, which is also really cool. So if you're planning like a friend's trip, you're all gonna save money too. So that's great as well. One more thing I wish I knew just about like the booking thing in general is that they have different types of trips. They have backpacker trips, they have the standard trips, and then they have their deluxe trips. And this is really going to dictate how nice of places you're staying in. So for backpacker trips, you're probably going to be in hostels more so than the standard trips, which would be hotels. And then for the deluxe trips, you can pay extra to stay in super nice rooms. So that's also good to know. It changes the budget a little bit depending on these trips, so you can filter them on the website if you just want to see the backpacker ones, for example, or just the standard ones. And also it's good when you're signing up to know what you're getting into, because if I had booked a backpacker trip not knowing that, I don't think I would have had as great of a time as I did having a standard trip. Something else that is good to know about EF before you sign up is that you can pay monthly. So you don't have to pay it all right away, because when I saw the price tags, I was like, $3,000 is super daunting, even though like that's kind of what it costs to to travel internationally to some of these places, but you can split it up into monthly payments and then just pay as time goes by. You only have to pay $22 up front, and then you don't have to pay anything else for 45 days, and then you can start the monthly payments. So this way you can pay it off over time, which is super helpful for like your credit card bill and for saving you some money and budgeting. Something else that's good to know, this is getting out of like the booking territory. Actually, no, it's not. It's kind of in the same. It's all about booking your trip. But something I didn't know before I signed up and paid for it was that you can book your own flights. And if you want direct flights on a certain airline, then you should book your own flights. It might make things a little more difficult when you arrive, because if you book your flights through EF Ultimate Break, they'll have someone meet you at the airport at the time that you get there and give you transportation to your first hotel. And if you don't, you might have to find your own transportation to your first hotel, but it will probably be pretty easy. And also the flights that I had were really not direct. Like, I live in Minneapolis and I had to take a flight to Chicago, then London, then Cairo. And I think I could have cut one of those flights out, honestly, and still gotten there and just saved some time in my layovers, because I had like 4-hour layovers both times. And I just wanted to get there, and even more so on the way back, I just wanted to get home. And like, it was easy that I didn't have to book anything myself, but also, I don't know, like maybe I could have saved some money booking the flights myself. I knew another girl who booked them herself and she said that she saved money. And also, I just love a direct flight. So that is definitely something you should think about and that I'll be thinking about for my next trips. And then just one more thing to know cost-wise before you sign up for EF Ultimate is to check within your itinerary that you're looking at on the website to see what's included meal-wise. All of your hotels are going to be included in the price, and your flights, which you can get, like I said, taken out of it if you book them yourself. But the food might be really different from trip to trip, because for my Egypt trip, almost every meal was included except for 2 or 3. And then with other trips, there's only breakfast included, and then like a welcome dinner on the first night and like a goodbye dinner on the last night, and everything else is on your own. So when you're looking at the price of the trip, be sure to check if meals are included, because mine were, so it made it even more worth it for me. But for other ones, if I had to buy all my own food all of the time, it would really add like $500 to my trip. Maybe I wouldn't spend $500 on food, but it would add like at least $200. So that's something good to think about as well when you're looking at the price tags of these trips. And then just one more thing, I don't know if this probably won't happen to you. I think this happened on my Egypt trip because it wasn't a very popular booking at the time. But some girls who were supposed to go like the week after I went were just moved to my trip like a month or 2 before they were supposed to go on their own. So not everyone's trip is going to have their time that they chose moved, obviously. But it's good to know that that's a possibility, because I didn't even know that that was a thing that could happen. And they just sort of had to like work their schedules around to make this one work instead. And like, they still had a great time and were like happy to be in Egypt, but it was sort of weird that their trip was just moved like on its own. I think they would have been refunded if they couldn't do it, but their trip was just too empty and they needed to have them move to an earlier date. So just be aware that that could potentially happen. Final thoughts. I really liked EF Ultimate. There are some things that I would change, like maybe booking my own flights if it was cheaper and things like that. But I had a really good time, and I think it's really fun for people who are in our age range. I don't know what age you are watching this, but if you're 18 to 35, it's really cool to be able to like make a lot of friends, travel somewhere, have it planned for you, and not have to worry about anything. So I thought it was super worth it. And if you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Maybe I'll make another video if there's a ton of questions that you have. But I had a good time. Thanks for watching. Bye.